proven to the world, to Africa, and to Nigeria in particular, that we are not worthy of any self-determination, that we are not worthy of taking responsibility for ourselves, and that we are nothing but incapable. But Allah, may He be praised and exalted, is with the truthful, and God willing, they will fail.
The leader of Niger Republic, General Abdurrahmane Tchani, has accused Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and France of uniting to destabilize the sovereignty of his country. Watch this.
So, these terrorists are currently benefiting from material support, financial support, and training support from France, with, of course, the complicity of other Western powers. Because if they simply told France to stop, I am sure France would stop. But since they are complicit and Niger deserves a correction, it is of course necessary to supervise the terrorists so that ultimately Niger falls and it is proven to the world, to Africa, and to Nigeria in particular, that we are not worthy of any self-determination, that we are not worthy of taking responsibility for ourselves, and that we are nothing but incapable. But Allah, may He be praised and exalted, is with the truthful, and God willing, they will fail. The destabilization strategy is simple. It consists, firstly, as I said, of financing, equipping, training, and positioning terrorist movements along the border of the Confederation, not only of Niger, but of the Confederation, because the objective is the dismantling of the Confederation. In this sense, what did the French do with, of course, the accompaniment of the European Union, which remains, despite the evidence, attached to the deadly and crazy policy of the French authorities? The French positioned, already on the 25th, I emphasize, the night of October 25th to 26th, 2023, equipment in the Lake Chad Basin at the time when they withdrew, when they disengaged from Niger, passing of course by land which links us with the sister Republic of Chad. They made contact with the terrorists. They offered them, the terrorists of the Bakura wing with Abu their leader, and the terrorists of the ISWAP wing with Abu Musa al-Barnawi as leader, financing, training, and equipment on the condition that these movements agree to go to war against the Republic of Niger, on the condition that these movements accept that French troops occupy the Lake Chad Basin, certain islands that we know, but whose name we keep silent for obvious reasons. They made this proposal to the two wings of the former Boko Haram of Yusuf Mohammed, if you remember. When they made the proposal on the night of October 25th to 26th, 2023, the Bakura wing was more conciliatory. The ISWAP wing had openly said that it was not ready to go with the French to attack any Muslim country whatsoever. Their fight is for Islam, according to them. But Islam is not learned in Niger. Some, of course, 6th Khalifa, Islam was introduced in Niger. To tell you the strategy used by France, this is not the first contact. They continued and maintained permanent contact with these terrorist movements.
partis pour créer
They
le
left to
mouvement
create the
La
Lakurawa
Kurawa.
movement.
Ce mouvement La Kurawa qui a fait couler beaucoup d'encre.
This Lakurawa movement has caused a lot of ink to flow, but we have, and as I said, God is with the truthful, we have, through special operations conducted, arrested terrorist leaders who have declared to us everything I have just told you and that I am going to tell
Ils
you.
ont déclaré tout ce que je viens de vous dire et que je vais vous dire. Les Français, en les
The French,
abordant
by approaching them in the Lake Chad
Chad,
bed with Nigerian
avec
officials,
des responsables nigérians, notamment celui dont j'ai parlé,
notably the one I
Ahmed
spoke about,
Abubakar,
Ahmed Abubakar, the former head of the NIA
de
agency,
l'agence NIA, les Français
the French
leur
offered
ont
them to open a
proposé
base in the Sokoto
d'ouvrir
region,
une base dans la région de Sokoto, une base qu'ils ont
a base
baptisée
they
Gaba,
named Gaba, in a wooded environment in the Sokoto region.
un environnement boisé dans la région de Sokoto. C'est en mars.
This was in March 2024, March of this year.
Mars de cette année.
Oui, tout à fait, 2024.
Ils leur ont proposé, une fois
They
cette
offered
base
them, once this base
ouverte,
was open,
c'est de faire la jonction
to make the
entre
junction
l'État
between the
islamique au
Islamic
Grand
State in
Sahara
the Greater Sahara, which
qui
operates in
opère
Mali,
au Mali, la jonction
and the
avec
terrorist elements
les
of
éléments
ISWAP,
terroristes
which are in the Lake Chad
de
Basin.
ISWAP qui sont dans le bassin du lac Tchad. Je dis bien ISWAP, pas Boko Haram.
I say
Bakura.
ISWAP, not Boko Haram,
Ensuite,
that's it,
il y a
Bakura.
une aile
Then,
terroriste
there is a
qu'on
terrorist
appelle
wing called
Ansar.
Answer.
Quand nous avons eu cette information,
When we
nous
received
avons
this
pensé que le
information,
Nigeria était le Nigeria.
we thought that Nigeria was. We called Ahmed
appelé
Abubakar Rauf to inform him of the intention that is
Abubakar
emerging in the
Rauf
sense of opening a Lakurwa
pour
front
lui
in
faire part
Sokoto.
de l'intention qui se dessine dans le sens de l'ouverture d'un front Lakurawa dans le Sokoto et dont la base sera
Whose
composée
base will be composed of the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, which operates in northern Mali, of Ansar, which operates on the periphery of Nigeria, and of ISWAP.
C'est une branche de l'État islamique,
It is a
mais
branch
qu'ils
of the
appellent la
Islamic
Dawla
State,
des îles,
but which they call the
qui est
Dullah
sous
of the
les
islands,
ordres, comme
which
je
is
l'ai
under
dit,
the orders,
d'un
as I
certain
said,
Abu
of a
Musa
certain Abu
al-Barnawi,
Musa
qui est le
al-Barnawi,
fils
who is the
de
son of Yusuf Muhammad. His
Son
real
vrai nom,
name is
c'est
Habib.
Donc, avec les combattants de ces structures-là,
This is the intention that France has to
Voilà
open
l'intention
another front.
que la France
We did it because we thought that Nigeria was sincerely
d'ouvrir un autre
engaged
front.
in the fight against
nous l'avons
terrorism.
fait parce que nous avions pensé que le Nigeria était sincèrement engagé dans la lutte antiterroriste. Nous avons permis
We allowed Nigerian agents to make contact with the terrorists we arrested, the Emir
avec
terrorist
les
leaders.
terroristes
They
que
all
nous avons
reported the same thing to
arrêtés,
us.
les chefs terroristes des émirs.
Oui.
C'est pas un, c'est pas deux, c'est pas trois, qui nous ont tous rapporté la même chose. Nous l'avons
We called him, his team came, the DGSE made rolling means available to them, took care of them for almost a week so that they could conduct the investigations and discover.
Pendant près d'une semaine
Oui.
pour qu'ils mènent les investigations et découvrent. Malheureusement, nous regrettons de l'avoir fait puisque nous avons
Unfortunately,
compris que
we regret having done so since we understood that this debriefing led certain emirs to become entrenched because the message that was passed to them was a message of trickery, of deception, of duplicity.
Ouais.
de tromperie,
Ouais.
de duplicité. La France ne s'est pas arrêtée à ça.
France did not stop there.
La France a
France
continué
continued then in the Lake Chad basins.
Ensuite,
What did they do?
dans les bassins du lac Tchad. Qu'est-ce qu'ils ont fait après la rencontre du 25 au 26
After the
octobre,
meeting of October
ils sont
25th
revenus
to 26th,
dans
they
la nuit
returned on
du
the
10
night of January 10th to
au
11th to land
janvier
a large batch of equipment,
pour
weapons, and
débarquer
others
un
for the
lot
benefit of the
important
Bakura terrorists.
de matériel, armement et autres au profit des terroristes El Bakura. Le 29,
On January 29th later, they will return to an island called Bertinger, which is 10 kilometers east of Boso, where the terrorists were gathered for the occasion.
de Boso, où les terroristes étaient réunis pour la circonstance.
All the weapons deemed obsolete by the French were replaced. The individual AK-47 weapons, whether they were collective weapons and equipment, notably through the supply of mines, mind you, even anti-personnel mines, while their use is officially prohibited and France is a signatory to the convention of this prohibition.
Même des mines antipersonnelles, alors que l'usage est officiellement interdit et que la France est signataire de cette interdiction.
They equipped them with these weapons, they equipped them with anti-tank weapons, therefore mines. This happened on January 29, 2024.
Le 29 janvier 2024. Plus tard, ils sont
Later, they returned, and it only escalates.
Ça ne fait que monter en surenchère.
In November, October 1st, on the 16th of this year, they returned with large sums of money.
Ils sont revenus avec d'importantes sommes d'argent. Nous l'avons annoncé dans un éditorial.
We announced it in an editorial. They have always committed their will, and to prove to the Boko Haram movement that they are sincere in their relations and that they have promised the equipment, not only, but the supply of speedboats. They are pirogues, the speedboat pirogues with engines, but not pirogues, it's speedboats designed for travel on the sea or any body of water.
C'est des vedettes conçues pour le déplacement sur la mer ou toute étendue d'eau. Ils ont promis 100
They promised 7 speedboats to the Boko Haram movement. On November 7th, they returned with, mind you, for the Bakura wing, 1 billion CFA francs.
Pour l'aile Bakura, 1 milliard de francs CFA. For the
reluctant wing, ISWAP, they promised 4 billion CFA francs if they only accept that the French settle permanently in their zone of influence inside Nigeria.
Définitivement dans leur zone d'influence à l'intérieur du Nigeria.
Since it is an area where I served and that I know particularly well, all the islands of the Lake Chad Basin, whether on the Niger side, whether on the Nigeria side, whether on the Chad side. We had maneuvered on foot for months in 1996 and 1997.
1996 et en 1997. Donc c'est une zone que je connais parfaitement.
So, it is an area that I know perfectly. They promised, if they accept that they settle, for billions CFA francs to the state of Nigeria. They promised a sum. I leave the monopoly to President Tinubu to say how much the French offered him to settle in the state of Borno.
Je laisse le monopole au président Tinubu de dire combien les Français lui ont proposé pour s'installer dans l'état du Borno. C'est pas fini.
It's not over. The French mobilized the terrorists, and when they arrived in December, on December 7th, this is what happened.
Le 7 décembre, voilà ce qui s'est passé. Ils ont décidé, toujours pour vous donner une idée.
They decided, still to give you an idea, to give the people the scale of the great international plot that is being hatched, they asked Boko Haram to form a company of 150 men that they will position in northern Niger.
De constituer une compagnie de 150 hommes qu'ils vont positionner dans le nord du Niger. La France s'occupe
France is taking care of the full payment of the salaries of the 150 fighters deployed by Boko Haram, who will be joined by the movements.
Qui seront rejoints par les mouvements, ça c'est les Français qui ont dit ça. Qui seront rejoints
It is the French who said that, who will be joined by the Risbula movements, then rebel movements that are in northern Chad, and they will form a common front installed inside Niger, in the chains of northern Niger, to wage war on Niger.
À l'intérieur du Niger, dans les chaînes du nord Niger, pour faire la guerre au Niger. Nous avons donc les combattants.
So we have the fighters installed in the chains of northern Niger, we have the fighters installed in the Lake Chad Basin by France, we have the Lakourawa fighters. We know how they were put in place. I told you, installed in the area. You take from Sokoto to KBI, Gaba, Tangaza, has K1, has K2.
Paouni, Sarma, Baraya, Tangaza, Haske 1, Haske 2, tout ceci sont des positions.
All this are positions. I have not cited everything. There are still a string of positions between Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kebbi, notably Kaiji.
Zamfara et Kebbi, notamment Kaiji, qui est une forêt également.
Which is also a forest where they also have Lakurwa elements, notably the two super camps. I believe that, since we denounced it, the construction site has been stopped, where the French intended, in Gidanata and then Gigani,
et puis Gigani, de construire deux super camps où ils vont
to build
stocker
two
du
super
matériel
camps where they
que
will
les
store
terroristes
equipment that the terrorists who are in the Sarma
dans
forest
la
will be
forêt de
particularly
Sarma
responsible for
seront
recovering.
chargés particulièrement de récupérer et acheminer une partie dans le nord Mali.
And transporting part of it to northern Mali. We have inside Benin. It's a belt. Follow the description I am giving.
Que je suis en train de faire. D'accord. Dans le nord Bénin, nous avons Porga. Nous
In
l'avons
northern
dit,
Benin,
nous
we have
l'avons
Porga.
répété.
We have said it, we have repeated it. The special forces currently in Africa are in two
En
countries.
Afrique, sont dans deux pays. Un pays ouest africain.
A West African country and a second
deuxième
West
pays
African country, which is
ouest-africain
Benin.
qui est le Bénin. Donc deux pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, ils se reconnaîtront.
Two West African
Mais le Bénin,
countries,
lui, déjà,
they will
je l'ai
recognize
dit et
themselves,
je le
but
répète,
Benin,
ils se
already I
reconnaissent.
say it and I repeat
Ils
it,
sont
it
à
recognizes itself.
Porga et dans la forêt,
They are in Porga and in the forest,
particulièrement du W.
particularly of W.
Pour ceux qui ont l'utilisation des coordonnées, vous utilisez
For those who use
11
coordinates,
degrés,
you use 11 degrees,
0,
02 minutes,
2
49.963 seconds
49,
north,
63 secondes nord. Ensuite, vous utilisez 00
then you
degrés,
use 0 degrees,
59
59 minutes,
minutes,
35.20
35
east, and you walk on the
secondes
azimuth 315 degrees, less than 5
Vous
kilometers,
marchez
you will come
à
across
l'azimut
one of the two positions that we know of the French special
15
forces.
degrés, à moins de 5 km, vous allez tomber sur une des deux positions que nous connaissons des forces spéciales françaises. Que ceux qui doutent
That those who doubt can put themselves to the
peuvent se
exercise
mettre
and
à
try.
l'exercice et essayer. S'ils ne savent pas positionner un
If they do not know
point
how to
sur la
position a
carte,
point on the
ils
map,
s'approchent
let them
des
approach
militaires
the military
qui vont
who will report these coordinates that I have given on the map, and you will see that it is the Porga aerodrome.
Que c'est l'aérodrome de Porga. Je l'ai dit, la distance même, la longueur de cet aérodrome-là, dans un
Porga,
précédent
I said, the
entretien.
distance, even the length of this tarmac there, in a previous interview, walk less than 5 kilometers on the azimuth to be brief and that people understand, northwest, you will fall on the second of the positions that we know
La
inside
deuxième
Benin.
des positions que nous connaissons à l'intérieur du Bénin.
Tell us what you think in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.